Hi, I'm Matt.
Hello, my name is Kobe.
Hi, my name is Callum.
I'm Caleb Kundai Mutombwa.
My name is Louis Green.
Hi, my name is Darren Banfield.
Hi, my name is James Rumble.
Hi, my name's James Allen.
I'm Steve Parsons.
Hi, I'm Joe Byerly, and this is my question. Do you and your mates talk about your mental health? I think I myself like to talk to my friends. I think when you're struggling, it's important that the people around you at least know. I think when you do it, it's important to go into it expecting just to be vulnerable and just to make yourself known. I think doing that really broadens your friendships and really makes relationships last and makes them more beautiful.
I think talking to my friends about mental health or my mental health is something that I think I've definitely got a lot better at recently, but it is something that is sort of a conscious improvement, I suppose, that a decision that you need to make. I think it's very easy to just have surface level conversations with your friends, and you know, I think it's quite striking. I certainly think a lot about, I would consider myself to be quite a chipper and happy person, but of course, you know, there are times when I'm not like that, and I think sometimes you feel pressure to, you know, create a certain sort of image of yourself and uphold that. So, you know, if I'm doing that, then there's a good chance that a lot of people around me are doing that as well. So if I can be that person that sort of says, you know, how are you doing, and ask people how they are, and I've got that sort of structure and support system around me, I think that's really important as well. But it is something that I think, you know I need to work on, and I'm sure a lot of people would say the same.
I've got a quite close-knit group of friends, and everyone does quite regularly talk about their mental health. I mean, initially, that never really happened up until, I would say, around the lockdown time. However, nowadays, that sort of stigma surrounding mental health and the opportunities that myself and my friends have together to talk about their challenges and feelings is really, really positive. Everyone's very kind of open, and I think they're now very much aware that if they do need to raise anything or they're facing a particular challenge, then they have that opportunity to discuss that. And I think that those skills from my friendship group as well have developed a lot over the last few years, because those conversations have been taking place more regularly.
What's the biggest challenge you've overcome? It's quite a good one. I think it's getting here. I think, like, your career and what you do and what you choose. I think from school, I think as a teacher now, I think when I was a student, like a lot of the people I teach, the biggest challenge to overcome was whether I could overcome a lot of the hurdles that have been put in my place, and things I've been told at school. And it seemed to me that the interactions I had as a student were so positive that I wanted in some way to be able to give that back, and that seemed like quite a big thing to work towards, because I think when you are either told you can't do something, or something's difficult, or you are not equipped to do it, that's when, you know, like, things can get really difficult. To succeed, you have to fail. I think that's a really important one, and I think without learning that or being taught that lesson, when you're failing, that can quite often feel like the end of the world, when really it's just you kind of getting bigger and stronger. And then building a community of people around me to help me do that, I think, was really important. So yeah, the biggest challenge I've had to overcome, I guess, is the negativity I suffered at school, and then trusting in some amazing teachers and people around me to allow me to reach my potential.
In my teenage years, I had quite a lot of challenges with my mental health. I was a very kind of anxious teenager, and that made it really difficult for me at school. Yeah, I suppose I had to kind of learn how to navigate my life feeling anxious a lot of the time, and I think especially being a man, that was quite difficult. It was spoken about a lot more with women, I felt like a bit of an outlier in my group of friends of boys, because I was quite sensitive, quite kind of nervous all the time. I think especially being quite a young boy when I started feeling anxious, there was this expectation that I was meant to be brave and strong, when actually I was, you know, not feeling that way. But then as I got older, I started to realise that kind of the bravest thing I could do was speak about the way that I felt, and ask for help when I needed it. It's definitely been a real challenge through my life trying to deal with this anxiety, and it's still something that I struggle with on a day-to-day basis, but it's really built me into a stronger person. It's something I'm very proud of.
I think it is having a disability, probably. It's not a challenge I've overcome yet, but it's a constant challenge, I suppose. But I have cerebral palsy on my left side, so it means that I might appear quote unquote normal to most, but I struggle with things like tying up my shoes, or for a long time even riding a bike, or cutting up my food, or there's a number of things, maybe even putting on clothes, or this mic, for example. It's that kind of stuff. I felt embarrassed by it for a long time. I think it was quite a lot to deal with, but once I found my way in my system and I realised that I am still me and I am who I am, and that's okay. And once I figured that out, I realised that, you know, this disability isn't a challenge, it's an opportunity. An opportunity to be an individual and be unique and beautiful in my own way. Yeah, so I would say my biggest challenge I had to overcome is discovering myself and getting used to myself with my disability.
What is your happiest memory? I've had quite a few good memories at uni as well, even though it's only my first year. But the fact that I've got good flatmates and all that, it's settled a lot of nerves that were coming into uni. I've got a good set of flatmates that, you know, I can feel comfortable talking to and just hanging out with, which I've never really had before, to be honest. Where I live, I don't really have many mates. They're all about 30 miles away, where my school was. So to have them so local is definitely up there, and something I'm not really going to take for granted.
When I was growing up, I was lucky enough, my grandparents owned quite a large farm down in Devon, Cornwall, on the border, and I used to spend hours and hours and hours on the farm. Really good way to spend my childhood, and yeah, really great memories.
The first time that I ever got to go up in a glider with my grandparents, it had always been a dream to fly. Almost everybody in my family flies. Everybody wants to connect with the thing that they feel their family specialises in, or something that the family all shares. And flight was that for my family. And before that, it seemed like such a big step to take. I think it's the time that I've seen my grandfather proud of me. He's a very stoic man. And I think most men can relate with struggling to relate to a stoic male relative, and just however good your relationship is with them, the moment where you both just acknowledge that you've shared a moment, I think can be really deep and powerful.
I think the happiest memory I've had was some years ago. I was doing my master's in London. I ended up producing a women's premiership game as a graphics producer on set, as a young African who had been born in Zimbabwe, who would watch rugby on television being made in the UK. That was absolutely a dream come true, and it really taught me about the aspect of not despising the humble beginnings. And I think that was my happiest memory, and also that when those moments come, you have to be there to enjoy them as happy memories. Yeah, I think that's what life is about, right? Being there in the moment and being where your feet are, and don't despise humble beginnings.
There's loads of people out there that care about each other and you and me and your friends. People want to help you, and I think the more you talk, the better. The understanding, the less guilt you feel about yourself, the less abnormal you feel about yourself, because you realise that there are people going through things just like you, and that it's a normal part of life, and you don't have to keep it to yourself anymore.